Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. This is Fisher vlog number 40, and there's an awful lot to cover today, so let's get right into it. First off, this aquarium here is the one I used in the planter filter run on the ammonium chloride tests, and for the most part, everything's perfectly fine. The ammonia's obviously all gone because I have fish in here now, but the vallisneria you see there has died off. The other plants didn't seem to have any kind of fallout from that, but the vallisneria certainly didn't like all that ammonia. And the other thing in this aquarium, which is kind of cool, are these guys. I've been looking around in the pet stores now that they've reopened, hopefully for a little while longer than they did last time. For the most part, there wasn't really much because, well, the pet stores really don't want to get a whole lot of livestock in. But I did find these killies. These are actually one of my favorite species of killie. These are gardneri. When I originally got them from the store a little over a week ago now, I was a little iffy on them. I thought maybe that they were possibly a little inbred or whatever, but they were skinny. But unfortunately, it's a pet store, and they get are in transit and they don't eat very well and whatnot. And in the end, they've fattened up nicely. I've been feeding them, believe it or not, on some flake food and also on scuds. They really like eating the gramaris, and as you can see, they fatten up quite nicely. And they have good color, and I'm actually really quite happy to have gotten these. So I'm going to breed them and get a number of these going, and hopefully they'll breed nice and clear and clean like these guys. And we'll see how that all goes. Now the other thing is progress on the pond. Now the indoor pond I want to make is going to go on this stand. I've pretty much got it done now. Pardon the little bit of blurriness here, but I am currently using my wife's phone, and for some reason it just doesn't seem to want to work as well as mine did before it broke. But I will figure it out, and hopefully we'll get some better shots as this progresses. But this is pretty much a 6x2 area. Now, as you can see in the left-hand part, I have put in the desktop tank I had made a little while ago, the air-driven one with the island. And I hadn't forgotten about it. I was just waiting until I had a permanent spot where I can put this. So this is going to go here, and I'm going to run it initially as with an air pump, just a regular air pump. You can see it behind the tank there, and it's going to sit here as a permanent spot. And I'm going to get that all planted and put all the different rocks and driftwood and plants and everything there and get that all going. And also, the other 4 feet of that is going to be used for the indoor pond. Now, for those of you who watched my impromptu video on Friday for the fact that my phone broke, this is going to be the top that's going to house the new tank for that particular client, and the top part is a little bit long yet. I haven't decided exactly how much space I want to put for the paludarium, but anyway, that's going to be on there. So I got some plant updates here for you. This is doing really well. I actually really like this method of rooting. As you can see, there's tons of roots on there now. The plants themselves are doing fine. They're sending out new leaves and everything, so that's really good. And you had a short little clip there of the vallisneria. It is regrowing, which is really kind of nice. It's still a little early to tell whether or not it's going to regrow and look nice again, but so far pretty good. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of jagged edges or anything on this, so I am quite happy with how it's starting, and we'll see how this progresses long term. But anyways, one of those things that will eventually pan out one way or the other. So there are a number of plant updates coming. Most of them you've seen before, but I do want to cover a few because some of them aren't doing as well as they should. Namely, this plant up front here, the succulent, it's not growing. It is losing the odd leaf every now and then, so I think I'm going to pull that out and put something else in instead. But everything else is doing well. The Java fern up at the top is doing nicely, and the pothos, well, it's always doing fine. So everything else in this tank is doing really quite well, so I do want to, like I said, get that one going. And now that I know that the Java fern is going to do really well in there, I am going to put a lot more of that and also some moss on the branches and stuff and get that going. These are the acrylic planters I made, and these are all doing really well. As you can see, the spider plants put out a new little one there, and everything else is growing nicely. The pothos is putting out leaves. And this little planter here, even though it was just like how easy or how simple could I make one, as you can see there are roots there, so it's doing fine. I do think I prefer the other one, but this is how simple you can get and still have it work. And there you go, you can see the leaf, oh sorry, 2 new leaves on the pothos here. But again, that's not really a surprise at all. So there's actually a few more updates for these particular tanks coming up in a little bit. As you saw on the thumbnail, I did some nitrate tests because people have been asking me for all kinds of denitrification filters, and I do want to cover that. But first we're going to finish up with the plants. These are the replants I did for the red ludwigia, and they're doing really quite nicely. Nothing really, excessive growth or anything yet because they just got planted. But the one neat thing about it is the ones I snipped are now sending out new branches, and that's actually an interesting way if you want to make these things a little bit bushier instead of having just a long sprig going all the way to the top. And here, this pearlweed is doing so well. This is the soil tank in the planter experiment I did, and it is just deciding to head off across the top of the lid here, and you can see in the center there, as it's because it's drier air out here, it is just simply adapting to that, and it's doing really quite well. Now I did decide to this is the hydroponics / aquaponics I'm just testing out. I did decide to snip off all the old leaves, and as you can see, it just sent up a bunch of new ones, and I'm going to probably transfer this particular version over into the pond when that gets set up, because obviously the leaves are just way too tall here. But it's an interesting first start on this. I'm actually quite happy about how this is progressing. So, another good thing there. I also picked up this little sweet potato when we were picking up groceries last time, and it was just about the right size, I figured, to wedge in here. I do need to put this obviously in something better than just a little bit of water like this. But I wanted to see if it was going to send out any shoots or roots or anything, so it's going to stick in here for now, and obviously I'm going to do something more for this later on. So let's get on to why I don't run anoxic filters very much. Mostly because of this filter here, not obviously this particular version, but when I want to have a low nitrate system, the leak-proof canister filters have proven really quite well for that. And this one is only 9 months old right now, but it is starting to have the same effect. I did a nitrate test, and it's coming up, and it is less than 10 parts per million, which is actually perfectly fine. And as you can see, there's getting this is the back end of the filter now. You can see there's lots of detritus in there, and of course, because the flow won't be anywhere near as much down near the bottom, you end up with anoxic filtration, and that is pretty much as close as I get to this. It is what I like to do when building that style, because you can't always have planter filters. So anyway, this is the nitrate test for it, and it is just a shade under 10. I had my wife check it just to double check because my color vision isn't the best, but she said it was just a little bit under 10, so that's perfectly fine. That's usually where I like them anyway. But just to show you that it can go down a lot further, this planter filter here has now been running less time than the new version of the leak-proof canister filter, but it is fully set up and mature now, and it has an awful lot of plants. So you see it also has an awful lot of fish in it. And I did a nitrate test on it. It's not 0. I don't think that's really possible, and actually not really even desirable, but it is low enough that you really can't tell. It is somewhere, I don't know, 2 parts per million maybe. Again, it's just such a small hint of color that it really doesn't show up well enough to actually give you a test. There is a couple of suggestions I've had for how I can meter this, and I'm going to try working into those soon as well, but for the moment that's definitely good enough for me. And as you can see, the angelfish here have spawned again. This is their 4th batch. They actually ate their last batch, or when they're in the regular stage, maybe the 2 big plecos that are in there got in and ate them. I'm not entirely sure because they did disappear, so I'm not sure if I'm going to leave this batch. I might just leave part of them with the parents. We'll see how that progresses. Because these are the batch I decided to raise, and as you can see, they are now getting big enough that, well, they're past any kind of issues with feeding. I don't need to feed them any infusoria anymore. I just feed them flake food, brine shrimp, and microworms, and they all love that stuff. So I do need to cull these out soon, and then after I've done that culling, I will probably think about raising up another batch. So anyway, as always, if you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe, and let me know what you think about my planter filters for denitrification. That'd be kind of interesting, and of course for anything else as well. And I am planning on breeding the gardneri, but that's probably going to take a little time because they're quite young, but they will breed at this age. But I haven't put anything in there for them to lay their eggs in yet, except for some java moss, and it's probably better to use a spawning mop or something like that instead. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.